know the joy of love. A lovely hymn indeed. Welcome to Radio Maria Ireland. Good morning, Father. Eamonn McCarthy with you here. It's Chatechesis time. Thanks, Nuria is looking after our visual. Yes, we probably should close the door in case any infiltrators come in and decide to interrupt our fun here, our conversation. Thank you so much. Welcome, and nice to have your company here on video as well. Shout out and a wave to everybody on Facebook and YouTube. We're very grateful for your company visually. Even if you're watching this back later on, you are most welcome. Drop a comment right here. Like, share, follow and subscribe. Help us to just build and grow and push out a little bit more on Facebook and YouTube. We've been noticing that, I don't know what the issue is. Facebook... It's all a little bit come and go. It seems that whatever algorithms they use, of course, is all machine generated. But we seem to sort of reached a ceiling or something with Facebook at the moment, and we're hoping we can get past that ceiling in terms of building our following. We're not too upset or too worried either, because please God, our website is certainly moving forward a little step or two. And in the end, it's not so much the social media platforms that are critical. It's nice to be on them. It's nice to use them. They're all useful and helpful in their own way. But they have restrictions and limitations of their own. As I say, this kind of invisible ceiling, this glass ceiling we seem to be hitting at the moment. So really the way forward is to home grow or produce our own platform, if you like, and that's in that way our own website will be the go-to point of reference indeed for all things Radio Maria Ireland in the end, and we'll make use of social media insofar as they allow us to, and will grant it to us. See, again, part of the thing with social media, if you'll notice with YouTube, they'll hijack the video and throw an ad in at the front end or the middle of it or the end of it or something, and all this content that we produce free of charge. There's a cost attached in the sense that, if you get viewership and if a video goes viral or any of these things, sure, straight away there'll be somebody on the back of that to try to capitalise on it. That's what it is, and so be it. I'm not getting upset over these things at all. It's simply the nature of the platform, the nature of social media. But do help us, because every little bit, as they say, every little bit helps. A plug, a like, a share, a follow, all these things just help to just get it out there. And we'll keep pushing out into the cyber world all the while and make use of all the platforms that are there. And, these things kind of come and go. There's a bit of sort of fickleness attached to these things in their own way. Again, it doesn't do to get too excited or too over-invested in some of these things either. Simply making use of them as a useful tool insofar as they help to spread the gospel. And so thank you again to all of you who subscribed, to all of you who follow, and all of you who share. We appreciate that. So please do so. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. These are our various platforms, and we'll continue to use them. And keep an eye out. I'm not so sure how soon it'll happen, but the conversation is ongoing for the development of our website. So with God's help, that won't be much longer. We know it's moving in the right direction. Now, with some lovely programs yesterday celebrating the centenary of the Legion of Mary, just want to share with you as we just step on into the show this morning, played a little bit earlier for you, Bishop Fintan Monaghan's very kind little greeting and plug for the Legion of Mary on the celebration of its centenary on this feast day of Our Lady's birthday, the Nativity of Our Blessed Lady. It was the eve, of course, of the Nativity by coincidence or God incidence 100 years ago that the Legion of Mary had its very first meeting in Myra House, a little premises there across the road and up the street from St. Nicholas of Myra Church in Francis Street here in Dublin. And we heard Father John Harris make the point there at that celebration last Friday evening, how he said that meeting, that humble little quiet out of the way little meeting, probably among the most significant, if not the most significant meeting of anything anywhere in Ireland in the last 100 years, given the impact and the effect and the output and the overflow of grace that accompanied that inauguration of the Legion of Mary 100 years ago last evening. And I have to agree with him, given the scale of lay apostolic organisation and grace that flowed from that humble beginning in the last 100 years, and stories abound yet to be told. So thanks, Tara's at the mixing desk now. I'll just play for you and have a listen to Bishop Fintan Monaghan's lovely greeting on the occasion of the centenary of the founding of the Legion of Mary.
Who is she that cometh forth as the morning rising, fair as the moon, bright as the sun, terrible as an army set in battle array? A warm word of welcome as we commemorate the centenary of the founding of the Legion of Mary by a wonderful man called Frank Duff on the 7th of September 1921. The Legion of Mary is a great organisation within the church that encourages people to pray and to practice their faith through evangelical works of getting out to help people in the community. Very cleverly, it's based on the idea behind the Roman army and their battle, and the battle that we have between good and evil as people of faith. And it has little practical things like the vexillum, which is the standard. It has a presidium, which is the local group, and it is a very well-known handbook, which is the guide for members of the Legion of Mary. The whole Legion is based on the spirituality of a man called Saint Louis Marie de Montfort, true devotion to Our Lady, a very beautiful spiritual work. The great luminaries of the Legion of Mary are indeed Frank Duff,
about 30 seconds, Father,
Quinn and Alfie Lamb, all people we pray that someday will be declared saints. Thanks be to God for the great work that the Legion has done, not only in Ireland, but right around the world over the last 100 years. And best wishes and congratulations to all legionaries throughout the world. O Mary, conceived without sin, pray for us who have recourse to you, today and always. Amen.
That was a lovely little recording there. Thanks, Tara. That's Bishop Fintan Monaghan. If you're watching on the camera there, you'll have heard everything that comes through the headset here. So not to worry. Thank you for that, Tara, and thanks indeed to some legionary sent that on to me. There's a couple of other clips floating around there, and I hope there'll be more of those to come. Celebrating again the great gift of the Legion in the church. I believe that the Concilium, that is the headquarters of the Legion of Mary, they have lots of interesting little projects in mind for the centenary year too, among which will be the publication of some of Frank Duff's, I think all of Frank Duff's books, the collected writings, as it were, of Frank Duff that were published years ago in collected form, but originally published in the Legion of Mary magazine, Maria Legionis. There's about 200 or so of those articles that he published over the years. The magazine that the Legion started in 1937 and still exists to this day, each month would have an article written by Frank Duff where he got time to compose these and put them together. And their genesis was very interesting because he would be invited to various functions in the Legion, mostly in and around Dublin, but around the country too, to give a talk here, there or elsewhere at a Curia reunion or an annual gathering of some kind. And he would seek to pick a topic on the church or on Our Blessed Lady or on the apostolate, and he would always try to put a little different shape or spin, or not so much spin, but taking just a different slant, a different approach to it. That was one of his preoccupations when he was not to just regurgitate what others had said, but maybe take just a different angle, and so provide another insight or two that might not otherwise have, and even propose his own theological thoughts or his own insights by way of adding to what had already been written or known on a given topic, say. So I do hope in the course of the centenary year ahead to share some of those writings with you. You've heard me speaking at length about Can We Be Saints? We certainly have done so in the past with Miracles on Tap. Now that's available as a podcast. We read the book from cover to cover, and we commented on it as well on a daily basis or weekly basis, but certainly maybe it was almost on a daily basis, and got the whole book done and read, and we left up as a podcast. We had technical problems somewhere throughout, so there was a couple of chapters got missed out, or segments got missed out, and we've the task of going back over that and finding out where they are and filling them in so that we can make sure we have the full length of the book. But it's all there for the most part. There's one or two little gaps. And what I'm doing myself at the moment as well, and I'll begin to post that up on our podcast page as well, is the Legion of Mary handbook. And all I'm doing, I'm cheating, I suppose, really, is that at our weekly Legion of Mary meeting, we're reading the handbook as you do. It's part of the system of the Legion system that we get a working knowledge of the handbook, and we take it piece by piece, week on week. And again, over a period of years, that the entire handbook would be read from cover to cover. And then at each Legion meeting, there's a little thing called the allocutio. And allocutio is like the general's address to the army before it went out to battle. It's not as dramatic as that, but it's just a small, what would you call it otherwise, a fervorino, little exhortation. And I would take the passage that we've read and just expand on it a little in the light of the history and devotion of the Legion, and in the context of the fuller sense of Legion of Mary spirituality. Now, again, keep in mind that you can erase or delete or rub out the name Legion of Mary and just substitute Catholic, if you want, in there. Yes, it has a Marian flavour, but it's a evangelical flavour too, and that is the Holy Spirit is animating all of this. It's simply all that it is to be Catholic. This is Frank Duff's, again, idea that he would speak of average Catholicism, which is kind of clocking in and clocking out, but he would speak otherwise then of what he would call normal Catholicism. Again, this is what I say about Frank Duff putting his angle on it. And he would see normal Catholicism as apostolic in some way. And again, the titles of one of his articles I mentioned before, maybe you remember, Unapostolic Catholicism is an anomaly. I love that, such a mouthful. Unapostolic Catholicism is an anomaly. In other words, if you're not in some way, shape, size or form being apostolic, missionary in some way, we've chatted about this at great length, then you are simply not a card-carrying Catholic in the full sense of being so. It doesn't mean that you have to be out and about with your Bible under your hand and talking to people face to face. Again, bear in mind that Saint Therese of Lisieux spent all that time in the convent, never stepped outside the world, into the world at all, and is patroness of the missions. So it's having this missionary outlook. Again, remember how I said Frank Duff, one of his little catchphrases, pray over a map of the world for a minute every day. That's being missionary. It's kind of looking out and beyond my own little bubble, my own little universe, my own fortress, and reaching out again. There's so many ways it can be done. Small ways, perhaps, but nonetheless, that there is an outreach in mind and in spirit and in some little practical, even if it's only a symbolic way. And that's a lovely chapter in the handbook too about symbolic action, that you take some small little step towards moving the mountain, but it's a small step. The mountain will get moved. Mightn't be today or tomorrow, but it's a symbolic gesture. So there's lots of treasures really to be tapped into, gold nuggets in the writings of Frank Duff and in the Legion of Mary handbook. So my hope is that we will gradually read the handbook from cover to cover, post it up on our podcast page for you to listen to in your own time, about 5 minutes at a time. Might be a little daily injections you might like to hear, and post up the weekly allocutios as well. If I can get into the habit of posting them weekly, that's something I must endeavour to do. We've already had about a dozen meetings, so if we can post all those up for you, we certainly will as well. It'll just be another resource to add to the plethora of and the growing resources that are becoming available by way of the history and knowledge and spirituality, devotion and apostolic endeavour of the Legion of Mary. All that is huge resource. And again, as I say, don't feel that it's biased against or towards one particular movement or organisation, because anybody who's in the Legion knows that we embrace all and every good apostolic endeavour. As you know, for instance, the Legion of Mary, very useful work there is the establishment of a centre for the pioneers and the accepting of applications and the formation of new members of the Pioneer Total Abstinence Association. The fostering of rosary confraternities is another one recommended in the handbook. The encouraging of devotion to the miraculous medal. So again, it's not as if the Legion is very narrow-minded and turned in on itself. It's the very opposite, in fact. It turns outward to look to the saving of others. A terrific document, well worth reading, and one I should bring to the microphone too is written by Frank Duff, called True Devotion to the Nation. Now, if ever there was a fascinating work there, because it concerns authentic patriotism. It really is. And that's a topic well worth exploring. Mary mentioned last night some of the, and we mentioned we were speaking last night about some of the other apostolates of the Legion. One was the Barman's Presidium and the retreats held every Good Friday for those in the vintner's trade. The Sancta Maria Hostel, which no longer exists, but was there certainly for helping girls off the street for 50 years. It's replaced, I suppose, supplanted a little bit by the work of the Regina Coeli, which continues to this day, and the Morning Star, by way of helping the homeless. So you can see the Legion is all embracing really in its approach. It's just in name, that's what it is, but it's Catholic really in its outlook. And some of the reports that come in from far and wide all over the world are spectacular in the way that the Legionaries gently reach out to souls. And it's so like the Radio Maria. It's a kindred mission and movement to the radio. And my hope and my prayer certainly would be that every Radio Maria station in the world would somehow form a bond with the Legion of Mary, and that the two would simply work together as close sisters in the very same work of the Church. We're certainly seeing that come to fruition day by day here on Radio Maria Ireland, because there's so many wonderful members of the Legion of Mary here, and the two are in some sense, so compatible and synonymous perhaps in some respects too, because again Radio Maria seeks to be under the maternal influence of Our Lady, an instrument in the hands of the Church and in the hands of the faith to gently bring the gospel to others. The same charism, same spirituality really animates both. So Our Lady, she's working in her own way. It's quite extraordinary, and I would see Radio Maria in some ways as the air support for the ground troops, the members of the Legion who go out and meet people. Mind you, we're doing a bit of that ourselves too, as you know. So we had a lovely visit, and a big shout out and a big thank you once again to Father Tom Fogarty and Father George Burke in the parish of Littleton, 2 Mile Boris and Moycarkey, I pronounce it not the way the locals were pronouncing it there, down near Horse and Jockey, if you're familiar with that, in Thurles. We had a lovely visit down there, and a big shout out to Sheila O'Brien, and we are certainly hoping that has maybe opened a little door that we might venture a little bit further afield then into the Diocese of Cashel and Emly, little by little. We are hoping to open a little door down in the direction of Kerry before too long. We have a few seeds, a couple of irons in the fire, as we say. We have some marvellous support. Bishop Ray Brown is a big fan, a big supporter of the radio, and we're very, very grateful to him. As indeed Bishop Finton above in the Diocese of Killaloe. So we're just gradually getting a little bit of momentum built up. We've been to the north a couple of times. We most certainly want to go back to the north of Ireland as soon as we can arrange that too. A lovely visit in Newry and in Omagh. Very kindly welcome in both parishes there. Immensely grateful, and with some lovely friends in the north of Ireland. Where we haven't ventured as much is the west of Ireland. And again, there's an area that we could do with a bit of help and a bit of support. If you're one of our kind listeners anywhere in the west, please get in touch with us if you can help us do a little bit of local promoting. And we'd love to begin to visit some parishes in the west of Ireland too, and just get a little toehold in there. And maybe gradually our hope and ambition is to build a small team in each of the 4 provinces that will just continue with a little gentle promotion in parishes for us on a kind of a rolling basis, if you like. Kathy O'Leary is doing marvellous work for us as our part-time staff member there in Cork and Munster, really. And we have lined up further Munster parishes to visit. So Charleville is on the cards, I think, as the week after next. And like I say, we are hoping to venture in the direction of Kerry, of course, Cashel and Emily last weekend. And again, a big thank you to the wonderful people we met there in Littleton, Moycarkey and in 2 Mile Boris. So the next visit on the cards, Father Billy is greatly anticipating our trip down, is this coming weekend to Wexford Town, the 2 town parish churches there in Wexford. Very much looking forward to heading down to the southeast there. And Father Billy has got everything arranged for us already, and some wonderful members of the Legion of Mary as well are to hand. Please God, they'll hand out a little bit of literature and meet and greet people as well. And it'll be a slightly different approach maybe too, in that Father Billy has asked me to focus on the centenary of the Legion, the great gift of Frank Duff to the church, and just tying the two together with a Radio Maria visit. So that'll be nice. Very much looking forward to that. So now we're heading gradually around the country. We were this morning actually supposed to be in Cabra Parish in Dublin, but as happens, and we're very deferential to that, we've always said that, look, if a funeral mass needs to be celebrated on the morning of our scheduled visit, we'll simply come on another day. We wouldn't by any means step across that situation where a family is grieving and this is their funeral mass. It just wouldn't be right. We'd leave the promotion of Radio Maria to another day. So we'll have to come back to Cabra another day. And there is another Dublin parish we have lined up. I'm afraid for guessing them, so I won't guess it, just not in my head at the minute. And maybe Sarah might let you know a little bit later on. So this is good. So southeast and the east of the country, the Midlands there, Thurles, and again hoping to head back down to Cork and the southwest, and please God, Kerry. And so the west of Ireland, again, we really haven't begun properly. Help us out if you can and get in touch with us. Now, our contact numbers, as many of you know already, 089 467 2000 is the text and WhatsApp number. 089 467 2000. Just put a +353 in front of that if you're listening in from the north or want to get in touch, or from outside of Ireland altogether. That's the text and WhatsApp number. Catherine came in the door a little while ago. She's volunteering to help to answer the phone. So we have plenty of people on hand. We have 4 lines. Just call us up right now. 014 123 456 +353 14 123 456, and give a call right now. You might have a prayer intention or two. And it has been, I must say, overwhelming in some respects, the number of prayer intentions that have been flowing in. I might have mentioned we had 60 or 70 of them, I think, on our WhatsApp group to remember just on Monday. So we're very, very grateful. We're so encouraged to receive your prayer intentions and very happy to lift them up to the Lord. So do join in with Father Jamie this afternoon at 3 o'clock, the Divine Mercy Hour with Catherine and Carmel and Grace, and they come to the microphone to sing and to pray, and at the Divine Mercy Hour bringing in all of your intentions to the Lord. So by all means do get in touch if you have a prayer request. But likewise, again, if you'd like to give a little help, please God, our new bookmarks are due any day now. And we'll have them available to send out in little bundles to you. Just took a little while to push that through. I don't know what the slight delay was. Printers maybe are busier now that things have opened up. That's all good too. And in God's time, all these things come to us. So they'll be available the next, please God, day or two. And we'll be glad to send out a little bundle to you if you want to pass them around your family, your friends, or in the neighbouring doors of your own community there. Just let us know. And always with permission, if you leave them at the back of your own local parish church. Do please ask, because there's nothing more frustrating for a priest or a sacristan, when they see their table or their bookstand or whatever at the back of the church just littered with literature that they don't know anything about. And I've seen it happen. I've had to do it myself from time to time. Just a plethora of stuff left there without any permission into the bin, And it breaks my heart to have to do that, but it's far better to ask permission so that the parish has the final say on whether or not. And what we found always and invariably, a gentle approach, always cap in hand, and asking permission. If it's refused, that's fine, but invariably, if the right approach is made, there'll always be we can make room for a little bit. And my approach would always be just leave just a little handful, half a dozen. Don't leave 500 of anything there, because they'll only be left there. But you leave half a dozen or so, they'll find their way into hands and into handbags or into back pockets or whatever. Great little way of sowing and scattering a few seeds there. Now we might pause for a little piece of music, and I'll come back again. We'll continue our conversation as well. Let me see what's happening here. Frank wants to know how to acquire a copy of the Legion Handbook. Well, as it turns out, I have a box of them here. So, Frank, give us a shout out if you'd like me to send you one. I'll put one in the post for you. We've started our Legion Presidium here, of course, and because we're doing it by Zoom at the moment, everybody's handbooks at home or whatever. But so I have some spare handbooks here. Just let me know. I'll send them in the post to you, Frank. No problem. Let me see now. Magella and Angela are both watching on Facebook. There you are. Nice to have you here with us. Thanks for joining us. So, Tara, we have a lovely Ave Maria, I believe, lined up. I forget the name of the composer that you had said to me, but I know it's going to be a worthy representation of the Ave Maria. So, Tara, we'll play our little piece of music and we'll be back with you again very shortly. Thank you.
About 30 seconds, Father.
Total beauty right there. Do listen in to Tara's show on a Friday if you'd like to hear such beautiful music indeed shared with you. Or even this afternoon, Dominic will be with us once again for his lovely music show at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday. So here in Radio Maria we seek indeed to uplift your spirit with such beautiful, beautiful music indeed, and very fitting and very appropriate for Our Lady's birthday today. So thank you, Tara, for that. Well done. So thank you for listening in and joining in as well. Nice to have you with us. Thanks to Frank for your text there as well. And thanks to Peter, who was saying that the little glitchiness, or the, what's the right expression there again, not really sure, but just the temperamentality, will that be right, of social media is a common problem. It is not unique to Radio Maria. That's very true, Peter, indeed. So we smile and move on. Whatever it is they're having themselves, that's fine. We seek certainly to build our own digital little platform there, and encourage we'll use these things indeed as they will allow us to do so, put it that way, and we won't worry too much otherwise. Let me see now. There's just so much little items here. Now I want to give a big shout out again, and must roll up the sleeves and dig in a little bit more and share with you more about the Eucharistic Congress in Budapest in Hungary. Our dear friends in Radio Maria in Hungary were in touch with us and did invite us out to Hungary, but things just didn't fall into place for us so well. So again, it's having the resources and the manpower to attend all these things. But just some lovely occasions. Just at Budapest's majestic Heroes Square, some 1,200 children received their first Holy Communion. They're among the youngest pilgrims participating in the 52nd International Eucharistic Congress in Hungary. Now, I wonder, isn't that interesting? Was that as a result of the pandemic? You know how here at home, First Communion celebrations were postponed and still a little bit postponed, or celebrated piecemeal here and there. And I know indeed some of them are back on track again, which is wonderful. Nice to see a photograph recently in Ahalinta in Cork, there, a First Communion celebration taking place, a small group of children there. Lovely to see that. So maybe it is in this case that they said, look, here's a way around it. Let's bring all these children to the Eucharistic Congress and allow them to make their First Communion there. What an impact on their families and on the children themselves onwards into the future, to receive First Holy Communion at such a most auspicious occasion in such a beautiful location as well. So it's seen as a hopeful sign for a nation where the Church is still recovering from decades of communist rule. So perhaps those 1,200 children were all Hungarian children. Absolutely fantastic to hear that. Of course, Christian education, as we know, during communist persecution, simply not permitted, you know. Organisers described the Holy Mass and other events during the Congress as a celebration of the real presence of Jesus Christ in the Holy Eucharist, a real sense indeed. The approach was welcomed by non-Catholic participants such as Blanca Fabini, a 27-year-old Lutheran kindergarten teacher. Her father is a Lutheran bishop, and her sister was part of 1,000-strong choir at the opening Mass. She says, I hope that this Congress will add to the growth of the Church. Very interesting, between Lutherans and Catholics there, really coming together as well. So this was taken from this Vatican News, I think, provided that too as well. And of course the Pope is due to attend for the closing Mass. We must again see if we can connect in. Surely some of the addresses are being given in English as well. We must try and tap into that for you and share some of that with you. We know we had the great blessing of the Eucharistic Congress ourselves here not so long ago as well. Ahead of the Congress, thousands of homeless and other less fortunate people received special meals, including pastries with biblical ingredients. That's interesting, probably figs, maybe pomegranates, I don't know. That's an interesting little touch. And that should also be the case, because where there is communion in Christ and fellowship at his table, there should also be a sense of communion and solidarity with the poor. And that food that we are blessed to receive is blessed, broken, and shared with others. Remember that theme we had here in Ireland? Communion with God, communion with one another. This is what was shared as the theme of the Eucharistic Congress when it was here. And it says there was a special meeting with the Jewish community as a sign of reconciliation. Some 600,000 Hungarian Jews perished in the Holocaust in the 1940s, just years after Hungary for the first time organized the Eucharistic Congress themselves in 1938. Wow, so again, a very poignant moment there to be remembered. Cardinal Peter Erdo said he was pleased that the anthem that they used for the 1938 International Eucharistic Congress in Hungary is being used again. Note to self here, we must play that anthem for you. Maybe, please God, tomorrow's Chatechesis might be a time to do that too. He noted that the hymn gave devout Catholics and Hungarians strength during the war. Gosh, it was 1938 when they had the Congress then, and gave them strength perhaps to face the awful years of the war, again with Germany from one side and the communists from the other, during the war as well as later in the decades of communism and oppression. Referring to Hungary's first king, Saint Stephen, the hymn urges Hungarians to instead bow to the King of Kings, not to the King of Hungary, Jesus Christ, saying in part, this is the words of the hymn, "Orphaned nation of Saint Stephen, bow your head and bend your knee, trust to the King far greater even than that King of Hungary." It adds, "Faithful, though besieged and harried, trust to him your hopes and fears, Christ who on the cross has carried all your hopes 1,000 years." Lovely words there, that hymn, and obviously translated with a bit of rhyme there to be sung in English too. So good, we'll come back to you on that and share a few more stories. I'm sure the Vatican News will certainly be featuring it in the coming days as well, by way of sharing in the blessing of the Eucharistic Congress and no doubt the Pope's visit too. St. Patrick's College Maynooth, we're told by the Catholic bishops, has been selected for a prestigious philosophical theology grant. So the faculty has received a grant, funded by €2 million grant. Let me see. Let me read this correctly now, just in case it's misunderstood. It's been selected to host one of the 12 grants, offered by the project Widening the Horizons in Philosophical Theology, anchored at the University of St Andrew and funded by a £2 million grant from the Templeton Religion Trust. So it's not being specific, I don't think, here as to what is in question. But Professor Michael Mullaney, Reverend Professor in Maynooth, noted this grant will continue to bring internationally renowned scholars working at the intersection between philosophy and theology to the corridors of St. Patrick's College Maynooth, along with supporting our research in Christian philosophy. We're delighted and humbled to have been selected. So, in fairness, again, anyone who wants to go that much deeper now in philosophy and theology, no harm to have a look in the Maynooth, St. Patrick's College Maynooth faculty there, and the website maybe to explore a little bit further. So well done, and that there's other notes there that I might have to come back to another time. So just to share those couple of news stories with you there as well. So now, again, lovely to have your company. My time ran away with me once again, and hard to keep up with everything and to keep things. Our time is too short maybe here as well. But anyway, please God, don't worry. There's when God made time, He made plenty of it. It doesn't all end just because it's approaching 12 o'clock. We'll resume all these conversations with you and these sharings and stories as well in the days ahead. So do please continue listening in. Do please continue texting in and sharing your own thoughts and your questions perhaps as well with us here. So do stay with us, where our lunchtime rosary will be at 1 o'clock today. It'll be October before we change that time again to 12:30 for Mary Fitzpatrick, just to be consistent throughout the week. So for now, for the next coming weeks, 1 o'clock again for the Immaculate Heart of Mary prayer group. So yours say, please God, will be followed by Join the Team as well for you, and a bit of music between that and 1 o'clock before the rosary, will be prayed at one with all of your prayer intentions in mind. Now it's coming up to 12. We'll pause. Please stay with me. Please pray with me as well. Our Angelus at midday prayer.